You've heard the theory. Aliens built the pyramids. Aliens gave us mathematics. Aliens visited ancient humans and kickstarted civilization. It's easy to dismiss. It sounds like a conspiracy theory dressed up in pseudoscience, and mostly it is. But here's the version nobody talks about. What if the question isn't whether aliens visited us? What if the real question is whether we are the aliens? Not metaphorically, not philosophically. What if human beings are genuinely, biologically, evolutionarily out of place on this planet, and the evidence has been sitting in plain sight for so long that we stopped seeing it? Because when you actually look at the data, something doesn't add up. Let's start with the most obvious thing that nobody finds strange anymore. You are not built for this planet, not really. Every other primate on Earth is covered in hair, thick, dense, insulating hair that protects against sun, cold, insects, and abrasion. Gorillas have it, chimpanzees have it, bonobos have it. You don't. You are a naked ape on a planet where being naked is a significant liability. Scientists have proposed explanations. The aquatic ape theory, the thermoregulation hypothesis, parasite resistance, but none of them have achieved full consensus. The honest answer is that we don't completely understand why humans lost their fur. We just know that we did, and that no other primate did the same thing to the same degree. Then there's your skin. Human skin is extraordinarily sensitive compared to other primates. It sunburns, it tears, it gets infected easily. It requires constant protection from the environment it supposedly evolved in. If you drop a chimpanzee into the African savanna, it survives. If you drop a modern human into the same environment, with nothing, no tools, no shelter, no clothing, they are in serious trouble within hours. We are, by any objective measure, poorly adapted to the environment we supposedly came from. And then there's the brain. The human brain is 2% of your body weight, but consumes 20% of your calories. It is the most metabolically expensive organ in the known animal kingdom relative to body size. Evolution is ruthlessly efficient. It does not maintain structures that don't pay for themselves. And yet, the human brain is so large, so expensive, and so far beyond what was needed for basic survival that paleoanthropologists have spent decades arguing about how it got this way. The standard answer involves cooking, social complexity, and language. But here's what's strange. The brain expanded far faster than those explanations comfortably account for. Between 800,000 and 200,000 years ago, the human brain nearly doubled in size. In evolutionary terms, that is almost instantaneous. Nothing in the fossil record of any other species shows cognitive expansion at anywhere near that speed. We went from stone tools to symphonies in an eye blink of geological time. Now, here's where it gets stranger. In 2013, geneticist Luca Cavalli-Sforza published findings suggesting that the human genome contains segments that show signs of extremely rapid recent selection. Changes so fast, they appear almost discontinuous with the gradual pace of normal evolution. Other researchers have noted that approximately 223 genes in the human genome have no identifiable predecessors in any other species on Earth. Not in primates, not in any earlier hominid. They appear in humans and nowhere else in the tree of life, with no clear evolutionary ancestor. 223 genes that came from nowhere. Scientists have proposed various explanations: horizontal gene transfer, viral insertion, rapid mutation. All of these are plausible, but they are also, when stated plainly, admissions that we don't fully understand where a significant portion of human DNA came from. And then there's the skeleton. Human beings have the weakest skeletal structure of any primate. Our bones are thinner, more fragile, and less dense than those of chimpanzees or gorillas. A chimpanzee with the same body weight as an adult human is roughly 4 times stronger. This makes no sense for a species that supposedly evolved through millions of years of physical survival. The fossil record shows that earlier hominids, Homo erectus, Neanderthals, had significantly denser, more robust skeletons than we do. Modern humans are structurally weaker than our evolutionary predecessors. We got smarter and simultaneously got physically weaker, which is the opposite of what you'd expect from a species fighting for survival in a dangerous environment, unless the brain wasn't a survival adaptation, unless it was something else entirely. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine you discovered a planet where one species had the following characteristics. It was physically weaker than all its close relatives. It was poorly insulated against its own climate. It had a massively oversized brain that consumed a quarter of its energy. It contained hundreds of genes with no traceable evolutionary origin. It had reorganized the entire surface of the planet within a few thousand years of becoming dominant. And it spent enormous amounts of time and energy trying to communicate with the sky. If you found that species on another planet, what would you call it? You would call it an anomaly. You would flag it for further study. You would wonder how it got there. Now, here's what makes this more than just an interesting thought experiment. The panspermia hypothesis, the scientific theory that life can travel between planets on asteroids and comets, is not fringe science. It is a serious, peer-reviewed field of research. In 2019, a team of scientists published a paper in Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology, arguing that the Cambrian explosion, the sudden appearance of complex animal life roughly 540 million years ago, may have been seeded by material from space. The paper was written by 33 scientists from respected institutions across multiple countries. You may disagree with the conclusion, but the fact that 33 credentialed researchers signed their names to it tells you something about how seriously the scientific community takes the possibility. If simple life can travel between planets, complex genetic material can too. And if complex genetic material can travel between planets, then the question of whether humans are native to Earth is not as settled as we assume. There's one more piece of evidence that almost nobody includes in this conversation. It has nothing to do with genetics or anatomy. It has to do with behavior. Every human civilization that has ever existed independently, without contact with each other, has looked up at the sky and felt that something was there. The Sumerians described visitors from the heavens. The ancient Egyptians built monuments aligned with specific star systems. The Maya developed astronomical calendars of staggering precision. The Aboriginal Australians have sky maps embedded in their oral tradition that predate written language by tens of thousands of years. Indigenous cultures on every continent share a version of the same story. Beings came from somewhere above, gave knowledge to humans, and left. These stories are not evidence. They are not proof of anything. But they are a pattern, a global, cross-cultural, independently arising pattern of humans looking at the sky and believing that is where they came from. Why would a species native to Earth universally feel that it came from somewhere else? Now, none of this proves anything. The nakedness has explanations. The brain expansion has theories. The genes without predecessors have proposed mechanisms. The ancient sky stories can be explained by the human tendency to anthropomorphize the unknown. Every single piece of this argument has a mainstream scientific counter-argument. And most of those counter-arguments are probably right. But here's what's true regardless of the conclusion. Humans are the strangest thing on this planet. By any objective measure, we do not fit. We are too smart, too fragile, too naked, too weird, and too fast-changing to look like a normal product of this planet's evolutionary process. We appeared, geologically speaking, almost overnight. We immediately started rewriting the surface of the Earth, and we have spent the entirety of our existence looking up at the sky and wondering where we came from. Maybe the answer is simply here. We evolved here, on this planet, through the same blind, slow, random process that produced every other living thing. The weirdness is real, but explainable. The gaps in our knowledge are gaps, not evidence of something else. Or maybe, just maybe, the reason we can't stop looking at the stars is the same reason you can't stop thinking about home when you're somewhere unfamiliar, because something in us remembers.